Well, we're excited about going up to Nashville and playing what is going to be a very competitive SEC tournament. I think the league has demonstrated how competitive it is, especially in the middle of the league. And we're going to take it one day at a time, one step at a time, and we got to focus all of our attention on Missouri. And it's hard to beat a good team 3 times. We played very well at home on senior night with a lot of emotion, and it was just a 10-point win. So obviously Missouri has got a lot to play for. I told Kim Anderson before the game what a great coach I thought he was, and how hard he is to prepare for. And he and I both won a Division II national championships together, and I know the job that he's done. And when he was an assistant at Missouri under Norm Stewart and head coach, and having won a national championship, and I just wanted him to know how much I respect his work. So as a fellow coach, it was I was sorry to hear about him not getting renewed and coming back next year.
Knowing that you have to win Wednesday to play Thursday and so on, what is the challenge that comes with doing something, assuming you are able to do that, something that you don't do during the regular season, play day after day?
Well, I think I don't think it'll be a problem because we practice every day, so playing every day, probably the kids enjoy that more than practicing. So I think from that standpoint, that's not really like an issue. We've been playing so often. We've been playing this year, knowing that we needed this one or needed that one, and some we got and some we didn't. And so this is another game where, well, if you win, you advance and improve your chances of going to the NIT. And if you don't, then you don't. And so we've played with that under that pressure before. And so I don't think the pressure is going to be an issue. I think what you do is you just focus on our basketball. The numbers point out the fact that offensively we're pretty good. I don't know where we rank in the country in scoring, but in conference games we're scoring 80 points a game. I don't know when the last time an Auburn team averaged 80 in conference play, but that's significant. And it's second league. We led the league in three-point percentage, which means we're taking good shots from three. We were second league in 3 points made. We're 7th in assists. We get to the line in the top 5. Getting there, we got to shoot better when we get there. So there's a lot of our offensive rebounding numbers are good. For a team that actually makes a good percentage of its shots, I think we're 7th or 8th in field goal percentage. We're 4th in offensive rebounding percentage. So there's a lot of really good offensive numbers. But it's interesting that I think some of the things that you can actually control more is your defense and your rebounding. And if we can continue to improve that, when we win, we've defended well. We defended well against Missouri. And if you look at the leads that we've had and some of the leads that we've given up, it's because we've defended well to get those leads. And then when teams came back on us, we didn't defend as well. Now, we may not have scored as well, but the defense is what. So that'll be our focus. And that was our focus 2 years ago. When we went up to Nashville and won 3 games, it was because we guarded for 3 straight games. I mean, really guarded. And so we'll see if we can, and it's, if we can perform in that, improve in that area.
Do you have an idea about how many it would take to get in the NIT?
I don't know. I mean, I think it would take a couple. And so that's a number that gives me a little bit of flexibility, but that's what I would think it would take.
Are you still open to CBI if that doesn't work out?
Again, we haven't made that decision yet, which means that if I were to give you a yes or a no, we're going to see how this thing plays out. I want to see how we do up there in Nashville, and then I'll get a pulse from the team. But I want to do it after the last game and after it's all I've got an idea, but I don't want to make that decision beforehand.
You talk about the difference in the
The first year, we were so undersized and so overmatched that we and we were a team that so badly wanted to begin the rebuilding process of Auburn basketball, and just felt like because of our makeup, we couldn't do it. But we had great leadership with KTRL and Malcolm Canada and Antoine Mason, Casey Rossmill, a couple of fifth-year seniors. I mean, those guys had pretty good leadership, and they just fought and scrapped and clawed. And if you look at some of the lineups out there with Devin Waddell or Alex Thompson or it was quite a hodgepodge, and they did. They made their mark on Auburn basketball history. Last year we went up there with having had a lot of injuries and really not having. We were so had lost, point guards, 3 point guards. We lost Taj Samsudeen. We had lost Kareem Canty. We had graduated Casey Ross Miller and Malcolm the year before, who played point guard. We had 4 point guards weren't available to us the year after we went up there, and we just we had a better team. We had a more talented team, but we were not. We were just too short in the backcourt, and Tennessee played great. This year, we've got a very young team that I would imagine is just going to be excited about the tournament atmosphere. And certainly the excitement builds if you're able to. The hardest one's going to be the first one. The hardest game to win is the first game, and then the next game, it just, doesn't matter about the opponent. It's just the excitement will build, though. The arena will fill, and they'll feel like they're part of March Madness a little bit more if you can stick around for a few days. And certainly, I think, as far as building on the future, I think it would be for us to be able to win a couple games with a young team would pay great dividends as we move forward. I mean, just to know we were in it and then figure out what it is we need to do to stay in it longer and compete for championships.
It's kind of a complicated question, but obviously offense.
You're kind of a complicated guy, so.
You guys do score basketball. You don't have a problem there. Defensively, what's the long-term solution to your issues on defense?
The long-term solution is a great question. The long-term solution is the individual defensive fundamental abilities of our players, the ability to guard the ball, the ability to jump to the ball, the ability to see the ball, the ability to rotate and make plays. It's not schemes. It's not effort. It's individual defensive physicality and ability.
Does it affect the way you're going to recruit?
It affects how we recruit, but it already has with Davion and Chuma and Deshaun sitting out, all better defensively than offensively, and they can all play offensively, all very physical players. But it's going to be more about the individual fundamental defense. Austin becoming more explosive, being able to get out and ball screen and guard people. That's going to require an off season of conditioning and footwork and strength training and core and all those different things, and just getting bigger and stronger and older and tougher and individually being able to go out there and compete. I would just say, not to equate things, but you always have to kind of equate things. Football. If you got a pretty good defensive line, you got some boys up front that can move and are strong and physical. In the SEC, if you do, you can defend. If you don't, you tell me a great SEC defense that's not really good up front. Well, ain't many freshmen are good up front. I mean, they just aren't. They're rare. A lot of times those defensive tackles, those defensive linemen, those guys have been there and they've done that and they've put their time in and they've been in the weight room and they are a little different, you know, their junior and senior year than they are their freshman and sophomore. And now there are some exceptions. And certainly we have some exceptions to that. But that is an area where, you know, the older teams are better on the defensive end, and it's because they're physically more experienced and are able to guard.
Do you think your team, even a year or two now, can be mean enough? I mean, I guess it's the right word. Just go out there and scrap and grind out these games?
I think that I believe that we would. I would say that we, again, without repeating myself, those are the things that we need to do to become a better defensive team.
I asked you about diamond press show on Saturday. Without suggesting whether or not you'll do it for the other 13 players in the tournament, is it something that can work in a tournament setting where you just don't have a lot to prepare for and that can cause people some problems no matter who the opponent is?
I wouldn't say no matter who the opponent is, but I do think that there have been times like I could tell you that without that diamond press, we don't beat TCU at TCU, period, the end. It was a huge factor. And there have been some opponents that we have played that defense, and it's bothered. But that defense doesn't bother every opponent. And so what we would then do is run that defense against teams that it bothers and not necessarily run it against teams that it doesn't bother. So it's been a good thing for us. And yes, you saw it. I thought it really helped us on Saturday as well.
Is it unfair to suggest that that's what honestly your bread and butter, something that you feel comfortable doing, all things being equal with your team?
No, I'd say pressure defense is definitely a hallmark. It's definitely a factor in my career. No, okay, but we've not been able to speed teams up because of the way the game's called now. I mean, the game is called differently than it was called a few years ago. And so if you're trying to speed teams up and make them go faster and extend defensively, with the way the game is called right now, it's really hard to do. And there aren't hardly any teams doing it. They just aren't. And so a big part of my system has been taken away because of just the way the game's called now.
This year you guys had the best SEC attendance that always had in a few years of fans support kind of down the stretch. And so you guys kind of showed a little bit.
Well, again, and listen, this is not the time, and we'll get together again, and we'll see how much we weren't struggling when it's all said and done. And but I understand where you're coming from. Our fans have been off the charts again this year. Our fan support is it's top 25 in the country. It is as good as, you know, it's qualified the NCAA tournament. I mean, it's been great. And you know, look at the last two Saturdays against Georgia and Missouri. I mean, the jungle's been terrific. And now at the same time, a couple things happened. One, you know, were you not entertained? You know, it was great. I mean, I thought they were entertained, and I was happy about that. You know, they deserve that. And then the other thing too, we got a chance to go out to the exits after the game, and I just get dozens of emails the day after from fans going, "Thank you so much." And like anything, like when you're in service, when you're serving, who do you think it helps more, us or them? Our fans say thank you. It helps us more. My players got a chance to go to the exits for the first time, those young guys, and they got to hear and see firsthand the passion of our fan base, how much our fan base does still appreciate the fact that we're more competitive than we've been, even though we can use the words disappointment and struggling, and that's fine. I get it. So it was really good, and I am very, very appreciative of it. And I'm really glad that we finished on a high note.
Scale off the Gary's question about the defense. Is it just repetition with freshmen?
No.
Because if you could take all your guys with it and say you're a junior.
No, it's the weight room. It is the weight room. It's probably another year of off season, conditioning and work, and just the stance, the fundamentals, and again, I mean, for a young team to put up 80 and to be efficient with our field goal percentage, our 3-point percentage, our assists, our assist turn ratio, all really good for a young team, is impressive.
Are you guys pretty confident going into this game that we're just beating them on Saturday, or are you expecting a very good?
No, I don't know about our confidence level. I would say, from my standpoint, we played really well on senior night at home, and it was a 10-point game. They got to the foul line. Puryear almost had a double-double. Barnett, had played great. Phillips had a big day. Geis scores better against us than anybody. No, I think there's some real things to be concerned about. And again, it'll be, part of it too is just it's a respect for the league, or it's a respect for, other players. And I have respect for Missouri. I look at the teams that we finished ahead of, or finished really close to, and I there's some talented teams that are down in the bottom half of our league. I mean, I don't want to mention any other names, so I'll just speak to my own team. But yeah, I think first of all, Dangel's a great free throw shooter. He's one of the best free throw shooters in our league. And he's not going to get fouled just shooting his jump shot. And so Dangel is a very tough cover, both because he can shoot the lights out, as well as the fact that he can put the ball down the floor. Now remember, 3 years ago, Dangel was a slasher. I mean, he was an athletic slasher. Like when you recruit him in football, you recruit him as an athlete. He doesn't have a position. He's an athlete. And he was a driver. But he got to the foul line a lot. He learned how to shoot free throws before he could learn to shoot the 3-ball. And then once he shot the 3-ball, he probably settled for a little bit more, became part of his MO. But now, I mean, he is truly more of a scorer than he is a 3-point historically. Just sort of settled into it. I think with his injury too, probably stopped attacking. He is attacking more now and playing with more confidence. He can make tough twos, and he can get fouled. So I'm glad to see him being more aggressive.
We talked about in some broadcasts, but with Austin at the foul line, is it just a matter of between his ears? Because, correct me if I'm wrong, but the form looks good.
Yeah.
The shot doesn't look broken.
Yeah, it's more mental than it is physical. Austin is historically, the last couple of years in high school, he was a good free throw shooter. When he was younger, he wasn't a great free throw shooter, but his last couple of years, and with USA basketball, he shot well. And so, yeah, I do think it's probably accumulation of just of mental. And he's working with Coach Person, and he is going to be a good free throw shooter. Obviously, this season he won't be. We'd love to see him finish strong at the foul line, because teams, obviously the game plan, they're just, as soon as he gets it in there, they're going, and they're either fouling him or they're stripping him, and they're not worried about setting him to the foul line. And he still has a chance to make them pay.